Good evening, everyone. We thank you and welcome you to the Jointly seminar. Thank you all for joining in. The host will be with you shortly to explain all. Once again, I would like to welcome you all to the Jointly webinar. Thank you for being patient with us. The host will be joining you soon. Please stay tuned. Thank you.
Yeah, hello, hello, hello. Can everyone hear me? Hello, good evening. If you can hear me, just say hi. Just type hi. Yep, yep, yep. You can hear me, type hi, and we'll see it. Hi, MOB. Who else is online? Yeah, numero uno, Larry Ajayi. Hi. Yeah, I can see that there are people online here. Okay. Uh, yeah, hi. So, if I share my screen, I guess I should just introduce myself. So my name is Olisa Umera, and I am the CEO at Hi Stanley. I'm the CEO at Symbolic Development Limited. Um, we are a real estate company, and we've been in operations for about 3 years. Um, today's presentation, we are going to be talking about how you can co-own real estate, and earn rental income for life. Basically, the topic is how co-ownership can earn you rental income for the rest of your life. Um, I'll just share my slides now, and then I'll get right to it. Okay. I'm gonna get my slides and get right to it. Okay, allow. Hi, Chris. Okay, can you see the slides? Please confirm if you can see the slides. Hi, Ngozi. Yeah, I can see you. Please, if you can see the slides, just type yes so that I'll be sure, so I don't go explaining away, while um, the slides aren't showing. Can you see the slides? All right. Okay, guys. So, how co-ownership can earn you rental income for life? All right, I mentioned my name before. My name is Olisa Omira. I'm the CEO of Symbolic Development Limited, and we'll be talking about co-ownership, and how you can use co-ownership to earn rental income for the rest of your life. All right, I'm basically going to explain what we all know real estate, to be before now. So basically, there are two ways, people or there are two reasons people invest in real estate. You know, the first is cash flow. People want to buy a house, put it on the rental market, and earn rent. You know, and then after some years, the property appreciates, and if they want to, they could sell it. Someone says he can't see the slides. Let me see if I can. Yes, make it bigger. Okay, I think it's better now. So, and if they decide to sell it, they can sell it, and then make more money. So let's say you buy a two-bedroom apartment for 25 million naira, and that two-bedroom apartment gives you, say, 1 million naira, 1.5 million naira in rent every year. Now, the 1.5 million naira is cash flow. We all know that that's rental income. Now, if you if you maintain that property properly, and then the value of the property does not drop, you could decide to sell that property in 10 years, in 20 years, at a price which is higher than what you bought the property at. And that's capital gains. That's simple. Another way people earn capital gains, is by purchasing land. So if you decide to buy land in a location that is developing, or an underdeveloped location, you buy it and you hold it for a number of years. After this number of years, you can decide to sell the land at a higher price. So once the government comes into that area and starts bringing in infrastructure, you will notice that the price of the land goes up. An example of such places, the Ibejileki Ekpe area, they used to be like, very underdeveloped, bushes and all that. And then nobody was going there. And then, we started hearing that Dangote was going towards that area and all that. And basically, the government started, paying attention to that area. And what happened? The price of land started going up. And, people who bought years ago, let's say 20 years ago, if they decide to sell now, they'll be selling at a higher price. That's cash flow and capital gain. So now the thing is that if you want to earn, rental income, or if you want to make capital gains from real estate, you will have to invest, a good amount of money. So if you're buying land, land is not cheap, and even when you're buying cheap land, I mean, you still have to wait years to earn, some money from it. So if you decide to buy a property, properties are not cheap. I mean, you are going to spend time, you are going to spend money, and you're going to spend energy to be able to force force out value from a property. And that is what we've always known real estate investment to be. As a matter of fact, there are lots of millionaires who hedge their funds using real estate. And this is because, yes, they understand that it is not just profitable, but it is also a way to protect them, against inflation. Now, in as much as real estate can be profitable, it's always been something that people who have lots of money can invest in. For instance, if you decide to buy an apartment and put it on the rental market, the average rental income you get is, say, 6%, 7%, or below, depending on the exact location. So it means that people who buy apartment just because they want to rent it out don't basically do it just because they think they are going to make profit. Yes, they want to own properties, they want to hedge their funds, and they want to make cash flow while at it. And then the world started changing. Real estate as we used to know it also started changing. The idea of tokenization, came up, and then it started getting practiced in different countries, in countries like Singapore, in countries like the UK, the US, and these days, lots of people are even talking about how to use the how to tokenize properties on the blockchain. But today we are going to be talking about co-ownership, which is a form of you know property tokenization. And now, for those who do not understand what I mean by tokenization, it means breaking down huge things into bits. And we are going to be talking about it very soon. So, before I explain what co-ownership is, it's there are different ways co-ownership can be actualized. So we have the investment clubs where people come together, form a club. So I know that I cannot take on the real estate projects that I want to take on my own. So I call my friends together, and then what we do is that we come together, we register a club, and then we pull our funds together and then invest in real estate. Another way people do that is through REITs, real estate investment trusts. There's crowdfunding, and of course, just like I just mentioned, there's tokenization. Now let's look at what co-ownership means. So from my slide here, you can see co-ownership in real estate is a strategy that permits more than one investor to own a property or a portfolio of real estate assets. A better way to put it is it's a strategy that allows people to come together to own properties. Risks, profits, and losses are shared amongst the co-investors according to the amount of equity owned by each co-owner. Now, let me break this down. So let's say prop a property is worth 30 million naira, and we want to buy this property. We could decide and say, you know what, instead of me taking out my 30 million naira to buy this property, I can decide and say, hey, let me get 10 persons who will come together with me, and we all bring 3 million naira each, and then we buy this property. What I've done is that I've reduced my risk. I have also been able to ensure that I have used, what we call leverage. I've been able to use what we call leverage. So my 3 million naira I put in a property. Even if I have 10 million naira, I could decide to put the remaining 7 million naira in other properties. Now, what if we have the same 30 million naira property, and then I have 3 million naira, someone else has 1 million naira, another person has 500,000 naira, another person has 5 million naira. We can all come together with the exact amount we have, put it in that property, and our profits or our risks are equal to the equity we own in that property. So someone who puts in 3 million naira in a 30 million naira worth of property owns 10% of that property. So let's say, the rent that comes from that property is 4 million naira per year, for instance. The person who put 3 million naira owns 10%, which means he gets 400,000 naira every year. Now, if that property is sold, let's say the property is sold at 50 million naira. 50 million naira, I put 3 million naira, which means I own 10% of that property. What I get is 5 million naira, as my capital gains or as my returns from selling that property. Now, let me go back to the slides. I hope we understand that. If you understand that, please just say yes or I understand in the comment section, so that I would know that we understand, and then I can go on. All right, beautiful, beautiful. All right, yes, I can see that. Among me, Latif, yes. Numerono, yes. Okay, that's good. Now that we understand what co-ownership is, and I think we understand what equity means, but just because I want to be sure that we understand that, let me explain that again. So, owning equity is like owning a stake, in an asset. It can relate to property, it can relate to, a company, it can relate to um, a business. So if I run a company and the total startup capital it will take me to start this company is 20 million naira, and I say, come and invest in this company, and you bring 2 million naira, what I will give you as equity or as your stake in that company is 2 over 20, which is basically 10%, of the company. And if someone else brings 10 million naira to invest in that same company, what I will give this person is 10 over 20, which is 50% of the company. So if the company tomorrow makes, 100 million naira in profits, the person that put in 10 million naira is going to earn his final earnings in actual money is going to be more than the earnings of the person that put in 2 million naira. Are they earning, the same thing? No, this guy is going to earn 10% of what he put in, while the other guy is going to earn 50% of what he put in. And that's basically what equity means. So in real estate, if you decide to own equity in a property, it means that you own a stake, which is basically equal to what you invested in the property, divided by the total value of the property. I hope we understand that already. Yeah, so how is profit shared in co-ownership? I've explained that before. Revenue from sale, lease, or rent from an asset, when realized is split between the co-owners, of a property according to each person's percentage contribution, according to each person's equity. And what we are trying to achieve with jointly, we are building an investment vehicle, we are building an investment platform that sees that where people can come together and co-own properties, where people can come together and co-invest in properties. And I'm going to break it down, in the next few slides. So this slide says, what is jointly all about? And I said, jointly is an investment vehicle that allows you to own properties and earn rent without putting a hole in your pocket. That's like the simple way to put it. That's like the simple way to put it. And then the question people will ask is, so what assets, are you investing in jointly? So when we started Symbolic as a company, we started with selling lands, and then we started with building apartments, bungalows. We are currently about to launch some set of duplexes and all that. But we thought to ourselves, what do we really want to achieve as a company? So we want to be able to help people, earn rental income. We want to be able to grow our assets as well. And we said, you know what? The simplest way to help both us and everyone who decides to, partner with us, earn rental income and own assets is to bring up the co-ownership strategy. And that is exactly what we are doing with jointly. So in jointly, there are different types of co-ownership strategies that we are deploying. We have the co-fund strategy, we have the co-lease strategy, and we have the co-own strategy. As I explain this strategy, I will also explain the type of products, the type of properties we are going to be putting on the market for these different strategies. So let's look at the co-fund first. So the co-fund is simple. The co-fund is simple. We want to develop, some duplexes, for instance, that we want to sell. These duplexes, it's going to cost us, say, 35 million naira to build. And we are going to develop, say, three, for instance. Three of them will cost us 105 million naira. What we will do is to break down this entire 105 million naira into bits. So you can decide and say, you know what, I want to be a part of those who would fund this project. And I also want to share from the profits from this project. So we might say, okay, you know what? Each unit can be funded with 500,000 naira, which means that we break down 105 million naira into 500,000 naira units. So you alone might not be able to afford 105 million naira. You alone might not be able to afford the entire money that it will take to build this property. But when we say 500,000 naira per unit, you can decide to do, okay, yes, I can buy 5 units, 2.5 million naira. I can buy 10 units, 5 million naira. And at the end of the day, if the entire profit that we realize is 40%, right? We take 40% of whatever you invested plus the money you invested, and we pay it back to you at the end of the project when we sell. So this is not a invest 2 million naira and earn 30% um, kind of platform. This is not a put my money and then earn in 6 months kind of platform. What we'll do is we'll design the project and say, hey, this project is going to take 18 months to build and sell. This is how much it's going to cost to build it. This is the period we are going to take to sell it, and this is how much we expect to sell it. At the end of the period, we share, the money across everyone who invested in that project. And this is the short-term approach. This is the short-term approach, and this is the only short-term, product we have on jointly. Then we have the co-lease strategy, and this is mainly for short-let apartments. So in Lagos here, we can decide to lease apartments for 5 years. We currently have one of these properties on the market, that we funded fully by ourselves. So we lease these apartments for 5 years. Now, what you could do is own a share in the entire leasing. So what are we paying for? We are paying to lease the apartment. We are also paying to furnish the apartment. When we do this, we put it on the market. Now, these apartments are put on the short-let market. Now, the question is, why short-let? So the difference between short-let and regular rent, when it comes to the income, is really large. I mean, you can make 10 times the amount you would earn on the local rental market, on the short-let market each year. So it's a high yield investment option for us. Now, not only is it just high yield, it's also safe because it's real estate, it's asset, it's backed by an asset, right? So when you come together and say, okay, I own some shares in this co-lease, in this apartment. So you own 2 shares, 3 shares, 4 shares, as many shares as you want to own. Every year, what we do is we split the profits from the management of the short-let with co-investors. Now, one thing you have to understand is you cannot just wake up and say, hey, I want to invest in this, apartments. What would happen is, if it's going to take us, say, 25 million naira to fund one apartment, when we divide it into bits, say 500,000 naira per unit, once the apartment is fully funded, that's the end of it, right? That's the end of it. And then, what happens next is we manage it, we market it, we operate it, and at the end of every year, you earn returns. But on this particular webinar, we are not going to be explaining in details, what the short-let market is. We are going to set up another webinar for that. Then we have the co-ownership. So co-fund is short-term. After that period, we sell, we split the money. Co-lease is medium-term, 5 years thereabout. After the 5 years, the only thing we have left is the rents that we the yearly rent that we all invested together. That money can be taken and put in another property, or can be split among investors. Now, co-ownership, this is like the one that drives me crazy. Co-ownership is the one you can own for life, and it goes beyond one type of apartment. Under co-ownership, we can have shopping complexes, we can have hotels, we can have beach houses, we can have vacation homes, we can have apart hotels, we can have uh, residential apartments. Now, if it's going to take us 100 million naira to build an apartment complex or a shopping complex, we split it the same way for the co-fund or the co-lease. We split it into units. You buy as many units as you want, and you own these units. You own these units. Now, these units, you own them the same way you can own any other property that you buy. Maybe you want to buy a 4-bedroom duplex in Lekki. It's the same way you own these units, right? Now, when you own these units, every year when the property makes profit from the operation of the property, now the thing is, for this strategy to be profitable, we can only apply it on operational properties that will be operated, right? So apartments, shopping complexes, and all that. Now, the revenue received from these properties, when we make profit on that, that profit is shared. Now, not only are you making profits, not only are you getting profits from these properties, you also profit from the capital gains. So let's say we build this property today, and then it's worth 100 million naira, and in 5 years that property is worth 130 million naira. It means that the value of your share has increased from the value it was when it was 100 million naira to a new value at 130 million naira. Now, I'm not going to be talking about the features on the Jointly app because we are currently building an app, but one of the features will be that you can decide to sell your shares in a property when the value of the property goes up, and you can sell it in the secondary market. And that is the beauty of Jointly. So not only are we making real estate accessible, we are also making real estate easily liquid. I mean, if you own an apartment right now in Lekki, 2-bedroom apartment, and you're earning rent every year, and in 5 years you decide to sell, first of all, you have to get the agent, and then the agent has to put it on the market, and then you get lots of people to inspect and inspect and inspect, and you might still not sell it in 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, until you get a buyer. But with Jointly, once you want to sell your shares, we put it on the secondary market and people can buy your shares. Another thing that happens is you can decide to buy 5 shares on Jointly, 5 shares in one particular property, not on Jointly now, 5 shares in one particular property. And in 2 years or 3 years, you decide that, hey, I need some money to do something, and I cannot wait for, returns to be shared and all that. You can decide to sell 2 out of your entire 5 shares on that property, liquidate 2 shares, do what you want to do, and then you still have 3 more that can still generate you rental income. That exactly is what we are building. Now, some people will ask, so what's the legal side to this? And the simple question is, this exactly is why we have not launched, Jointly yet. So two things we are currently doing. We are building a web app where people can sign up, invest, see the amount they invested, see the properties they invested, sell their shares and do all that. And at the same time, we are also setting up legal structure, for this. The best legal structure for this. We are also setting up a trustee service that would, that will hold us accountable throughout the entire process. Because what we want is a system that where a third party, a trustee service holds these assets for investors, in trust. So we basically do not just have access to, deep hands in the account and then, do whatever we want to do with the money. We basically are going to be doing what we say we are going to do with the money. So we are setting up the legal structure, we are setting up the app, and then we are going to have different webinars talking about different topics until we launch Jointly itself. So at this point, I guess we understand what co-ownership is about, how you can earn rental income for life with co-ownership, and what jointly is about. Um, and then we are at the point where you can ask questions and I'll answer them. Questions, please. I seriously hope I wasn't talking to myself because Omaomi says simple and well detailed. Bella says perfectly clear. Okay. But I know that there are definitely going to be questions. So I'll take your questions in the next few minutes before um, we end this webinar. We are also creating a Telegram channel where you can join and get your questions answered in real time. So instead of asking questions and then waiting for someone to answer, once you ask on the Telegram channel, we answer. And then it's also the easiest way for you to know when we are going to launch. So Latif says, thank you. Will there be sorry, let me show this. He says, okay. He said, okay. Oh man, lots of questions already. He said, will there be a minimum amount to start investing with? Yes. So every property is going to have a minimum, you know, investment amount, right? So if we decide to split the number of shares into say 100, and then the property is worth 50 million naira, that means that the minimum amount will be 500,000 naira. That's so. I hope that answers your question. And Kiton says, at the secondary market, will the shares be bought immediately or until co-interested investors pick interest in it? So the way we are going to structure it, we are going to have right of first refusal. So we are going to decide if we want to buy your shares. So if you put up your shares, we can say, okay, we'll buy it from you, or someone else on the market can buy your shares. So definitely someone has to be interested in buying your shares. Either the company or another investor can buy your shares. But of course, if you've invested in a property that is really profitable, right, your shares will always be attractive to people and they will want to buy it. Can one buy shares in jointly? We do not have that. What do we call it now? That's feature, or we don't have that available for now. Maybe in future, or maybe in the near future, we just might have that available. But for now, we are not selling shares. Right now, we're not selling shares. Is Johnny only focusing on real estate? Yes. Right now, Johnny is only focusing on real estate. I mean, we might wake up in 10 years and then we, metamorphose into a full financial house or a full finance house. But right now, we're only focusing on real estate. You see, the vision of Jointly is to make real estate investing accessible for Africans. It's not just the vision is not just a Nigerian thing, it's a pan-African thing, right? So people who sign up on Jointly, to sign up on Jointly is free. And when you sign up, whenever you see a property that interests you, you can invest in it. So at some point we are going to be having properties in Rwanda, in Ghana, in Kenya. But right now, we are going to start from home. Okay, please, where's the link to the Telegram channel? Please, can you drop the link to the Telegram channel? They'll drop the link to the Telegram channel right now. And we'll also have the link to the Telegram channel in our bio on Instagram. So after this webinar, click the link in our bio on Instagram to join the Telegram channel. We'll also drop it there. So Kazim says, I'm in a similar group where the web portal was hijacked by hackers. What will you be doing to protect the app from hackers? Okay, so first things first. So we have two payment options, that we are designing on the app. So we are either going to have bank transfer, where we give you the details and then you transfer with your bank, which is obviously safe, or you transfer through Paystack, which is also safe, right? and then we are also going to have dedicated, security, such that um, our database will not be hacked, right? Um, I basically think, for any platform, security should be, paramount, and so we are going to ensure that this does not happen. Now that your question has come, I'm also going to, double down on that to ensure that that does not happen. Kazim, I hope I answered your question, properly. NBase says, however, I would like to ask if you have a program for realtors to market your product and earn commissions. Yes, we are going to have an affiliate program, and an affiliate program would ensure that you can both earn commissions and points. We are designing all that, commissions that you can withdraw, and spend, and points that you can accumulate and use them to invest in a property. So it's a win-win. You're an investor and you're also a salesperson. If you were me, Chijoke says, if you were me as an investor, what would you consider the risk level is on a scale of 1 to 10 to consider investing in? Okay, so the risks involved includes: one, would they manage my money well? Two, how accountable would they be? So let me answer. So one, would they manage my money well? We are going to have a trustee service that would oversee the entire, investment and revenue generation process. So we will not have full control over the money. Two, how accountable are they? There are platforms where, the company is in 100% control of the money. No, we are not going to have that. We are going to set it up in such a way that um, we do not have, total autonomy, over your money that we can use to do anything. So we are going to be accountable, to the trustees. We are going to be accountable to the system that we set up. Three, there are platforms where SEC just comes and then closes its door. So SEC is another risk. What if SEC comes? Yes. So we are going to be having that trustee service, which is regulated by SEC, and what that will do is would affiliate us with, the trustee company, and you know indirectly we are being regulated by SEC. Beside that, the legal structure that we are going to be applying, would ensure that we are going to be what's the word now? We are going to be overseen by the Ministry of Commerce, Cooperatives, and Commerce and Cooperatives. That, yes, I think there's a third name to that. So the legal structure that we're going to be applying is going to ensure, first of all, that we do not have issues, with SEC, and then that the trustee companies are also going to regulate our activities. Chijoke, I hope so. Looking at that, another risk is, will they carry out the projects, that they said they are going to carry out, and the fact that we're accountable to, a higher body, would ensure that, of course, that would happen, and our vision should also count for something. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, let me answer your question. I want to say 10, but let me say 9.8. And 0.2 is I don't know what to call it now. Risk that you cannot control. Act of God and all that, which we don't expect to happen. Can I have a contact to connect with for more info? Yes. You can contact us. There's a phone number on our Instagram account. We also are going to get them to drop, the phone number that you can contact. So simply just drop a phone number that they can contact. Traceville says it's generally a registered company, and if yes, what regulatory certifications has generally got, and also who is the CEO of Jointly. So Jointly is a product right now, and we are going to be registering jointly as first as a cooperative, which of course gives it a legal structure, not as a limited company, because as a limited company, you do not have, legal rights, to co-fund or run, crowdfunding um, platforms. And we are also going to be partnering with a trustee company that is SEC regulated, and that would see us affiliated to SEC as well. I hope I answered your questions, Praiseville. Um, Latif, yes, 0.2 margin of error. Yes, so that's almost negligible. All right. If there's any other question you have, you can send your questions to info at ownjointly.com, or you can drop your questions on Instagram, or when you join the Telegram group, you can also drop your questions there. We are going to take all these questions that you asked, and we are going to put it in a document, and we are going to answer them all over. And then, so we are going to make it available for you to download by Monday. And then, in case you missed, any part of the questions, we are going to you are going to catch up. So Chijoke says, what's the minimum period for any return on investment? So they all have, because this is not your average, investment platform. Different products will have different periods for return. So for the co-lease, which you are going to put on the short-let market, you would see that in the first year you have to wait for till the end of the year before you earn returns, because it is basically rental income. In the second year, we might pay quarterly or twice a year, depending on the factors guiding that property. Once you have capital back per year, once profits come in, we could pay twice a year. For the co-funding for a new project that we're going to build and sell, until the product is done, before we pay out. And you are going to see all this information before you invest. And for the ones where we are going to build, the entire period that we are going to be building for, of course, we are not going to be paying. The only thing you can do is that you can sell shares while the property is being built, and then someone else can buy your shares. But when we are done, once the property is in operation and we start earning returns and profits, you start earning profits as well. So I guess that answers your question, Chijoke. So basically, we are not saying, hey, this is just 12 months. Hey, this is just 6 months. That's not what this is about. Another thing we are going to be doing is that we are going to be organizing, webinars, and we are going to be putting out videos that will educate you on investments generally and real estate, as well, so that you understand what real estate is, what real estate investment is, and how we are, trying to use this platform to help, everyone build their real estate portfolio. What time are you looking to open up for investment? So we are currently, setting up our legal structure, and we expect that it's going to take another, say, 6 weeks to 8 weeks to properly set up. So we do not want to start haphazardly. We do not want to start without having the right legal, structure in place. So in another 6 to 8 weeks, between now and that time, we are going to be having lots of educational videos and all that would help you understand what we are doing. Our Instagram account, Latif is asking, is at own jointly. Own jointly. So you go on Instagram, you type own jointly. I guess they are going to send you an email with the handle or with the link to our Instagram account, so that you just click on it and you can follow us. So this is basically our first webinar. I want you to follow what we're doing, follow us as we build it, and once we open up for investment, once we open up, the app, you can log in and then start investing right away. Keaton says, if there's a property, say land, can jointly buy from the owner. So, because the kind of lands that we're going to need are lands in strategic locations where we can build the kind of properties, that we want to build for investors, so hotels, shortlets, beach houses, and all that. If you have land in such areas, yes, you can bring it up. We'll look at it. If it's strategic and it's going to achieve that aim, yes, why not? We can buy that. We can either buy that as a company or as a group, and we are going to have a webinar, where we are going to talk about how you can also buy lands, as a group. What's the least amount that the person can invest with? I think I've mentioned it before. There are different, minimum amounts for different properties. Some could be 500K, some could be 250K, some could be 1 million naira. I think what we'll do is we'll send out a survey so that we know what you are looking at. Yes, that's what we are going to do. What locations are you looking at presently? So we are looking at, Lekki. We just currently launched a shortlet in Lekki Phase One. We're looking at some others in Uniru, Lekki Phase One, VI. We are conceptualizing a project that is going to be around Ikate, which is in Lekki as well. Those are the projects that we have for now. Um, Other projects that we're going to come up with, you are going to know before we even, launch it. Yes, so I think this brings us to the end of today. Any other questions you have, you can ask them, after this webinar. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for attending. This was really, beautiful, and I like the fact that we all understand what we are about. Um, until the next webinar, you can follow us on Instagram, you can send us an email, you can join our Telegram channel, and we will see you on our next webinar. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chris. All right, guys. Good night.